Hello boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is Defub21 and today, as usual, we have another video game trailer. But this time I thought I'd do things a little bit differently in terms of how I went looking for my trailers. This time I have basically gone to the Steam store, on Steam, obviously, and I've just gone through the new releases category. Browsed through it looking for games that have come out under new releases, and just gone around looking for games to have a look at, preferably cheapish ones, just for the hell of it. And to say this doesn't mean I'm not looking for games, intentionally looking for games that look or are terrible, because as an example, Downwell is a great game and that was less than £4 when I picked it up. So there are plenty of really good kind of low cost indie games on Steam. This game is called Cursed West. It's the launch trailer. It came out on the 9th of September. It's made by, if I get the name of the developer correctly, just give me a moment here. It's should really have all this. I think it's pronounced. It's GOX Games. GOX is one word. GOX. Maybe that's it. Games. It's called Cursed West. I know nothing else about it. So without further ado, let's take a look, and then I'll let you know what I think. Well, what can I possibly say about this? The prior comparison I made in terms of price of games and how a game being cheap, even if it's a new release, does not necessarily mean it's a bad game, specifically in relation to Downwell, is actually a pretty good point of comparison here. Downwell is effectively an old school 2D animated sprite based platforming game. In terms of raw technology, this game is more sophisticated than Downwell. It's not 2D sprites. It's a 3D engine, 3D graphics, 3D world, 3D model, character models, and animation, and all the rest. So on a purely technical level, it's much more technically sophisticated than Downwell. In fact, it's much more technically sophisticated than any game from the 16 or 8-bit era, because it's in 3D and it's got the level of 3D that it does. But I can tell you from without any hesitation whatsoever that while Downwell is an excellent game, probably one of the best new platformers I've played in a very long time, this is... what's the word to use? Particularly, what's the word to use that would not offend Google? Because they've gotten rather draconian lately, apparently. This is bottom feeder junk that I cannot believe for an instant would in any way be a good game. The graphics, while 3D and technologically more advanced than what you'd find in your Downwells or even in your Super Mario Worlds, is of incredibly poor quality in terms of the quality of the art assets and the animation. That isn't necessarily in of itself a bad thing. A lot of the original, particularly PlayStation 3D games, look downright, and even dare I say PC games look down from the early to mid 90s, look downright archaic. Compared to stuff on the, well, not even the Xbox 360, compared to what was on the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2, let alone compared to current console/PC games. But if you look at it, if you look at the speed at which the character moves at, the animations and all the rest, this game, it's not going to control well, and by extension, it's not going to play well. This is if someone wants to make a game for a kind of a high school or even a college or university project, go ahead. They want to make it available for free in some of those free websites, like I think Itch.io is one and there are various others. They can go ahead and do this. But this game, just double checking here, this game is currently available on Steam. The normal price by the looks of it is... well, the normal price by the looks of it is $1.99. So this Chancer, and I assume it's a single individual, I could be wrong, is trying to get £2 for... actually, that's not the right game I'm looking at. Sorry, my mistake. I'll find it now. Just a moment. Could be a lot less than that, in which case I'm... yes, this Chancer, who is currently charging a 10% off because it's just been launched. Special promotion ends 16th September. I'm sure that'll drive sales. Is currently looking for and again here in Europe, here inside the Eurozone, is currently asking for €2.69 for this, as I said, garbage feeding nonsense. I don't know if this is, again, I'm not familiar enough to be able to tell you right off the bat if this is a Unity engine game or was developed with an in-house engine or whatever, but it's technically incredibly crude, very primitive. Whether the art assets are store-bought ones or ones the developer made themselves, I don't know, though who'd pay money for art assets like these, I do not know. But one way or another, this is... as a prime example, Sony would never allow something like this onto the PlayStation Network store, neither would Microsoft with the Xbox Live store. This game is... it's kind of personified everything that's wrong with Steam right now, is that Valve is making no attempt at real quality control. They should be going through the list of games that get put up for what's it called again? Is it green light or something, where people get to vote, Steam members get to vote on which games go on the service and which don't? They need to be going through the list of all the new games that get added to that to be voted on every day, every week, every month, identifying the ones that are clearly like this and just deleting them, banning them immediately. Games like, you might say, well, surely this isn't competing with anything. This game is $2.69. Downwell was a little over, if memory serves, a little over €3 when I bought it. I think normal price is like $3.99. So fundamentally, if it was just one game like this, that'd be one thing. But these games are everywhere on Steam now. They are filling out every nook and cranny of Steam. Just the way a lot of bottom feeder stuff and now free-to-play games have kind of swamped the iOS store and the Android store, and it means that games particularly made from small indie developers, which might only be a single individual or a handful of individuals, can be making these small games like Downwell that are great fun, really well designed, that really deserve to do well and make their creators a nice bit of bank. They're being effectively, for want of a better term, kind of shouted/drowned out by, as I said, bottom feeding crud like this. And it really is, Valve should know better. For all intents and purposes, if you're in the business of trying to make kind of smaller budget, portable or indie games that are where you pay a fixed price, you buy the game, that are well designed, they're kind of quality experience, the market for those kind of particularly high quality ones that are made to a very high standard, the market for those, we might charge 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 quid for them. The market for those on iOS and Android has completely and utterly imploded because of the combination of free to play and stuff like this going for 50, 60 cents. And it's again down to the fault of Apple and Google failing to impose some kind of quality control. And if that were to happen, and admittedly the Steam store is much more core gamer oriented, in this user base is much greater number of them are core gamers and what you could call whales, people who spend a lot of cash on actual games every week, every month, every year than the iOS store would be or the Google store would be. But even so, there is very much a risk, particularly in going kind of into the long-term kind of future, that would happen to kind of, indie developers trying to make games on quality titles, small, low-budget, games, but quality titles that are for release on the Steam store will suffer the same fate as their counterparts trying to do the same thing on iOS and on Android, which is that they get completely and utterly crucified and drowned out. And if you don't get, that what's the word for it? That if your game does not appear on the front page of the store for a day or two, then you're basically as good as dead. And when you could be in a situation, like I'm looking at the Steam store right now, I'm looking at the new releases, I go to browse all new releases. How many of these games, just new releases in general, how many of these games, like $4.49, $3.59, free to play, some of them are more expensive, some of them are $5.94, how many of these games are actually any good and how much of them are total and utter junk and they're basically crowding out everything else? How many of these games end up on the front store page denying an actually good game made by an actually talented developer, a chance to shine, a chance to sell a couple of copies, get word of mouth out there, helping them to drive sales? And how many of them are being denied that by stuff like this? Now, I'm not saying that this person is necessarily a crook effectively or any kind of chance or anything else like that. Maybe they do like video games, maybe they, that's fine, that's cool. But just because, you like video games, you want to try making a video game, does not mean your first attempt gets put out, on the Steam store to be sold for actual money, competing with stuff. This is, this is, what, game developers' first project in high school or college or something. It's not, as a first try. It's certainly, it does not deserve to be on the Steam store. It certainly wouldn't deserve to be on the iOS or Google stores either. And the fact that Valve has, allowed this onto the Steam store and is basically letting this guy charge money for it is, to me, it's just crazy. It really is, just crazy. Now, I suppose I should end my rant here. This is on the Steam store. if you want to spend $2.69, I think the Steam allows for, Steam does allow for returns. They have a return policy. Maybe you could buy it, download it, play it for like 20 or 30 minutes, see how bad it is, then get a refund from Steam, as long as there's, I think if you play a game for too long, that automatically gets disabled. You'll have to see. Again, it's not too much of a risk at $2.69, but even still, I mean, I didn't, as I said already, I did not pay much more for Downwell than this guy is charging, or dudes are charging for this game, or dudettes. And it really is, it is, you can level a lot of criticism at Nintendo, and I certainly have an awful lot of axes to grind with Nintendo, or more specifically their management. But fundamentally, they would never have allowed something like this onto any digital store that they controlled. And Valve really, really, really do need to be doing a better job. They really, really do. Anyway, this is Defub21. Let me know your thoughts on this. I don't know. Again, let me know your thoughts on this trailer. Let me know your thoughts on this trailer / game in the comments. If you like this video, please like it, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I will be I'll use Steam more in the future for sourcing new video games trailers, particularly the kind of low budget stuff, in case we find a few diamonds in the rough. Anyway, this is Defub21. Not impressed by this at all. Signing off. Toodaloo.